August meeting called to order. Roll call. Melissa. Here. Joe. Here. Lloyd.
Here.
Ben.
Here.
I am here along with Maggie, Mark, Sean, and
Pat's me.
our attorney. Stand for a pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Open forum, we have, well, two, but it's the same family, and it's from Chris and Shelby. Oh, no, it isn't. Chris Skillings and Shelby Paul, and it's on discussion about speed limits. So, that. Yeah, unless we want to bump it forward so that they don't have to see here all day. You guys okay with us bumping it ahead, or do you want to sit here for the whole meeting?
No, we're good with you bumping it ahead.
Okay. Do you want to just go right under the approval of the consent agenda? Can we do that? Open forum? Okay. Is there an approval then for the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda, moving the open forum up to and after the approval of the consent agenda. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes 5-0. Approval of the consent agenda. Is there any questions or discussion? Sean, I got a few questions. Well, not really Sean, it's more so Wendy, I guess. On the regional park stuff, kind of looking at this, we are, with the stuff that's, Bolton Make hasn't given us not this month yet, okay. With the expenses that we have, this month is $74,112.82. How are we sitting at?
I don't know. Sean asked me that, but I don't know without looking.
Okay.
We're not at the 250,000 yet, but we have budget for this year.
Okay.
We're still waiting for some invoices to come in yet, especially from Fane Construction.
I think we have Fane, we have Solberg's yet.
Right. Because Spain, didn't we do,
That's the sand. We have
The
we
sand.
have rock coming in from them. I mean, we have built.
didn't we budget like 80 or something? 80,000?
86,000.
80 something? And we were, it was, okay. All right. And then, Mark, the 2262, that's since January, right?
Correct.
Okay, just confirm.
And part of that is paid for with, for the planning services for like through CUPs and IUP for the solar cases.
Right. Okay. Any other discussion? Motion to approve? I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Shelby, you want to come on up?
Can we do it together?
Sure. Just when you come up, you have to state who you are and where you live, right up here to the podium.
I am Shelby Paul, and I live at 612 Dillon Avenue.
I'm Chris Skillings, and I live at 610 Dillon Avenue.
Okay.
Main kind of goal for tonight is to see what we can do about our residential street, because we've had several cars speeding up and down the road. We have a lot of kids that go across the street to play with their friends. We've had a lot of close calls. I've even got a green sign that we stick right in the middle of the road so that cars see it. Try to have to slow down and go around it either way. Doesn't matter. If you're flying past it, actually a couple cars have made a game out of it to run as fast as they can at it and then swerve around it.
Or knock it over.
Or knock it over, or move it. We've had the cops called on us last week for that sign. And the cop came and said, "You're perfectly fine. You can put that sign wherever you want, just as long as emergency vehicles get through." So we want to be able to see if there's anything we can do or the city will do to either put up some signs, reduce speed limit, put some speed bumps up, something to protect our kids, because it's not going to be too long before one of them's going to get hit. And obviously they're kids, so I mean they're not, you know, they range from 2 years old all the way up to about 12. Some of them don't have the best judgment, so you know we tell them, hey, we'll look before you cross the street, but some of them bolt out just to chase after their friends, and it's, like I said, it's a matter of time before somebody's going to get hit.
And I think too, it's important to point out that, you know, you can tell a kid how many times look both ways, you know, stop at the road. It only takes a second for their ball to go on the street and they're just darting across the street, even if I'm there yelling at them not to go. And then, as a matter of fact, you know, there are some parents that don't pay as close attention to their kids as they should be. And, you know, we try to do our best to control that and teach them, but it shouldn't be their fault that their parents not paying that close of attention to them. You know, we just want to make sure that nothing's going to happen, and it's going to.
I think that on the discussion on the whole thread on Facebook, it does take a study through MnDOT to change speed limits, so that's not even, and even if we were to change the speed limit, it's not going to.
Well, you had the sign up there.
Right.
That did nothing.
Didn't
As a matter of fact,
I think
there was guys that wanted to go fast in
see
that
if
short
they
span
could
of
make
time to see what their number could be.
Right.
And you could hear them, and I'd stand on the street and I'd yell at them, and I'd be like, "What are you doing?" And then, you know, they just buzz
let
off.
them go on.
Yeah. And it's not, I mean, there's a couple that we know that are doing it, but there's other ones that, I don't know if they're friends that we don't notice all the time, but they're just as we're getting ready to come here, the car comes whipping down, like, there it is.
Yeah.
Like, and it's not the 30, I think they're going over 30. I mean, I can't tell, I don't have a radar car, but
Right.
it just seems like they're really flying down the road. So, I mean, I don't know if there's, you know, I don't know if a sign would help, but I don't know if there's something that the city can do with speed bumps or something, or what we can do there to try to prevent them from going that fast.
Did you guys try calling the cops about getting license plate?
I know neighbors in the past have done it.
Nothing.
And as far as, other than just yelling and screaming at the cars as they speed by.
Yeah, it's the same people. You know, to be honest, you guys, when I was 18 years old, I probably paid that close attention to when I was driving. You know, I mean, I don't know. The other day when I was running down the street, there's this, I don't know what street is over there, over by Clementa. They had like 10 slow down kids signs, and where I was down in Buffalo, and I turned down the street and it said, an autistic kid. Okay, well, I just was more aware at that point. So I think even signs would be able to help to make people aware that, hey, there are kids here. Obviously, the signs we purchase are getting ran over or moved.
Not abide by it. So, I don't know. That's kind of why Shelby put that post out there to begin with. To start the discussion.
Conversation.
Our kids are too damn important to.
Right. Sean, what is normal do we normally put up signs? How does that?
We've dealt that on a case-by-case basis.
Okay.
We have done it before. If the council wants to go down that avenue, we certainly can.
And what do you recall what the average cost of the signs are?
$200.
How big of a stretch are we looking at that they're a couple blocks worth or?
No, well, I would say at most a block and a half to 2 blocks. Yeah, something like that. So it's a long stretch.
Yeah, but I mean, we could do like one sign at each end going the directions.
Yeah. I mean, I think it might help. I hope it would help.
No, because
I don't think it's gonna hurt.
Yeah, well, I've got a sign posted out there, but it doesn't do anything. So.
You know, I know speed bumps, I think Sean can talk to this a little too. You know, as cars come up to them, they slow down. Then as soon as they get over them, they're in the gas right away. So then you've got, you know,
some of these cars have very loud, obnoxious exhaust. So then you're dealing with that during the night too. So I mean, there are some trade-offs. Yes, they're slowing down for that short patch, but then
If I gotta deal with a little bit of loud exhaust to keep the kids safe, I don't care.
okay,
I mean, it's the point is, it's not, I mean, I've got 2 kids myself, but I mean, just in this little 6-house stretch, what is there, 10, 12 kids?
yep,
I mean, and they all play together, and it's not, but all of them are on on the same side of the street, they're on opposite side of the street, so they're always crossing the street, going up and down, and there's cars parked on the road.
yep.
So, I mean, they don't always, hey, peek out, and it's, let's go. And it's like, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. And then I want to be here and talk about it before and try to prevent it.
Yep.
Well, there's a stop sign on each end.
Yeah, there's stops on each end.
Yeah, there's a stop sign on each end right now. It's just it's a long stretch.
Yeah.
It's almost like a little raceway for them.
Yeah.
I suppose it's not any certain time of the day, it's
all
more or
time.
less now, so.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you seen squad cars in the area recently?
The only one we had was the other weekend when they called the cops on us because our sign was in the middle of the road.
Okay.
And like I said, he came and he just kind of laughed. He's like, I'm just doing what I gotta do. He's like, but you guys are doing nothing wrong.
Yeah, because I guess I've watched cars when I drop my daughter off to the school bus there at Emerson and 6th. I've watched cars fly through the stop sign, and I'm standing there as an adult watching, young kids right there. And the kids are like joking, they're like, hey, we wonder how fast, so-and-so is gonna blow the stop sign here today. And it was about 30 mile an hour he went through there. So, and I know I spoke to the sheriff about it, because I said, hey, kind of in this time frame, I said there were some cars, going through and even watching some of the other ones, they slow down to about 15, but.
When I lived in Watertown, we did the same kind of an issue on that street too, and it was like the patrol car would come, it'd sit there for like a day or two, and it was like, oh, nothing happened, and then they're on patrol again. So that's, maybe it'd be different here, I don't know, but that was kind of, I'm just a dad trying to protect his kids.
Everyone's getting
But our whole street, like I said, our stretch of houses where everybody's we're a close-knit neighborhood, and we're all together on this. We got neighbors and it's neighbors on the other end, or on both ends, or I should say one end of the street. They're younger people, and they just, those are some of the ones that are flying through there. But they just, they're not going to learn their lesson until they hit the kid. And let's stop that before it happens.
This is the new deal with the cops now, you get a license plate, so we report it, deal with this.
Well, I won't say what incident. I have called the sheriff's department with a specific license plate before, and they've gone to that person's house, had a discussion with them, and then he called me and reported, like, yeah, they admitted to whatever, so they know that people are watching. So I think that would be a start for you guys. Certainly, I think we as council, it would be nice to try to address something, but I think we all know that we can lower the speed limit. They're still going to speed. We can put in speed bumps. I think Ben is correct in saying that they'll slow down and then increase speed again. We can put up signs, and that may assist, but it's not going to solve. So I think finding a firm, good resolution to this is a little challenging.
I don't think that adding a couple signs is really asking too much. From my point of view, I know once the street opens up on the other end of me, it's going to be a racetrack between us, Jill. And so, I completely understand where you guys are coming from. I have 2 young daughters also, and they're outside playing, and just like you said, they aren't always paying attention, and my ball or whatever went out on the street, and just start out there, and they aren't thinking and looking. So, I guess I'd be completely okay with putting up a couple signs, if we can kind of find where we can get them that are visible,
And not removal.
What's that?
Typically, they would go, correct me if I'm wrong, Sean, is on the stop sign, right underneath the stop sign.
It'll either be that or a speed limit sign.
Depending upon,
What signs are there?
yeah, and where.
We'll piggyback on the current calls.
It would take a little effort to run with them.
We have, excuse me, we have a contact for the Wright County Sheriff's Department that stops in at City Hall. I guess if you have a license plate number or even an address where you know they're coming from, we can pass it on to the Sheriff's Department, and like Jill said, they'll probably go talk to them and tell them that.
I even tried to, before I came here tonight, I tried to drive down and look at the address. I know where 2 cars are coming from, but then there was a guy on a motorcycle just staring me down, so I was like, yeah.
If you want to email it to City Hall, we'll pass it on to the Sheriff's Department, to our contact.
Okay.
And I did just recently too, just like Jill said, got a license plate number, called, gave it to him, and the officer did go knock on the door and talk to the person that. So they do go, and inform them that.
I think a lot of dudes are like, well, hey, I'm going 30 miles an hour speed limit. So.
True.
I mean, it is the speed limit 30, so I think some people are just going 30, and it is the speed limit, so they can do that, but is it the safest speed limit? No. But I know people that are doing it just to do it. They can.
Yeah, because I know, is the sign still out there, the speed limit?
No.
No.
Okay, because when I went down there, even to get at 17 was ridiculous, because I went up and down it a couple times, I'm like, well, I'm doing 17. Why would you want to do 30? Because that just seems fast that way, you know? So, I don't know.
And with all the cars parked on the road,
You have to zigzag, yeah.
which there's, I don't know, I'm not an expert at it, but there's no way you're gonna stop at 30 miles an hour if a kid darts out in front of you. Sorry, just no, you don't have any time to do it. Your reaction time is not gonna be there. And if you're sitting there looking at your phone, which a lot of people are doing, or looking around like this, that kid jumps out,
Yeah,
there's no way you're gonna be able to stop it.
yeah.
I think the best start would be to get the license number, either call the police department or bring it up to City Hall.
Yeah, or even just on your way home, grab that address,
I would
shoot it to
think-
Maggie or Wendy, and
I would think after so many complaints, they could probably do something about it more severe.
but with that said, if we were to purchase 2 signs, that would come out of the Parks and Streets budget, right?
What streets?
Streets,
But you're not talking about that much money.
be about 500. I mean, estimation, if it's about 200 tax, whatever. So is there a motion then to purchase a sign for each end of Dillon Avenue?
I'll make a motion to purchase signs for each.
2 signs, yeah, 2
Two signs,
signs.
one on each end.
Not to exceed $500.
Yeah, I don't think they're that
I
high.
don't think they
Not
will
to
either,
exceed
but,
500.
okay.
I'll second that motion.
All right, Melissa. Aye. Joe. Aye. Ben.
Aye.
Lloyd.
All right.
I'll vote aye, motion passes 5-0.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Keep us posted.
Yeah, keep us posted. And if it's working,
Yeah, I'm
we'll-
sure.
We will.
Thanks for listening.
All right, thanks.
Sheriff's Department, they're not here. Reports from the council and commissions. Melissa? Let's see here. So, we had the city council meeting, we did have a family woman picnic. I was not able to make it to the lease contract workshop, unfortunately. And our regular family meeting, but I believe that was it. I'm not city related, but I did spend a week in Cape Cod at the end of June and attending a workshop for the week, which was actually quite insightful for a lot of things community related. So as I'm finishing that up, there's a lot of good things I took from that that I think are really beneficial here too. It was about inclusion and diversity, that kind of stuff. So it was quite an interesting week discussing that topic. So it was led by diversity inclusion expert from University of Massachusetts Hospital System. So, some good insights that I can share with you.
All right, so I attended several different staff meetings, union meetings, the council workshop on the police coverage, the Park and Rec meeting, the personnel meeting, the Montrose Days Committee meeting, the EDA meeting right before this meeting, and city council.
I attended Park and Rec meeting, meetings with the Army, the re-enlisting of one of the soldiers, 1, 2, 3, 4 meetings with the Herzons, 49er meeting, the pizza party with the Army that was donated by Casey. Oh, I got to go bug spraying with Jason. Annual conference. Go ahead.
Council meetings, the workshops, EDA meetings, and any other special meeting.
Is that the EDA right before here tonight's council workshop, or Beyond the Yellow Ribbon meeting, and our supper that we had here with that, and then the fire department.
So I also want to comment on one thing, because there's not really going to be any other convenient time to comment on it, but the Montrose Days Committee meeting was last night. Are you saying, oh yeah, I forgot about that. And so, a couple things, Montrose Days is next month. So definitely they are still looking for volunteers in several different areas. So if anybody wants to volunteer, certainly reach out to one of the committee members, send them an email. There's a website you can go to that has all the information for contacting them. But there's never enough hands involved in that, so feel free to volunteer. And then I want to get some clarification on whether these meetings need to be posted or whether they do not need to be posted, because there's some confusion on if council can all be there, if there's a quorum, if business can still be discussed, if they can stay. It's not city related, so some people feel like it's not necessary, but I know there's been issues in the past where some individuals have felt that it's necessary. So I want it on record somewhere.
It is,
whether it can be, whether it should be posted or not, and whether a quorum of council can be present without it being posted.
Would you like me to respond?
Sure. You look like you're eager to respond.
Normally I don't get a chance to say anything at these, but if you know all the council members are going to be there and any type of city-related business that could be discussed, it would probably be best to post it.
Okay.
If you notice. I'm talking about a parade or something where everyone's just going to be in the parade. You're not necessarily going to be together. Just a general civic event. Probably.
Okay. So this, it's kind of a unique organization because while it's Montrose Days Committee, the city of Montrose really has no affiliation with it. They have nothing to do with it. Any business that is discussed at it is not business directly of the city per se. It's a separate entity. I'm trying to think of another example.
Yeah, I mean, with discussions too with League of Cities and all the conferences I've been to, if no city business is being discussed or no tax dollars is being used, city council can attend without it being posted as a quorum. And that's, I mean, that's what we've been told by Andy too, so just confirming.
No, I would agree with that, but if it's going to be close, or you think city business might be discussed, or if the city is making a contribution,
No.
or may or may not be, I would just err on the conservative side.
Right, and that's where there's that gray line because there's not a physical contribution. However, it's on city grounds. It's city electricity that's being used for the event. I mean, so there's kind of, you know, under the radar benefits that the city is providing to them, but there's not a physical contribution.
What is the concern about posting it?
Well, there isn't. It's just, last night, for instance, we had 3 people show up and it wasn't posted, and we certainly don't want to create this appearance that, you know, there's a quorum and city business might be being discussed. So one individual chose to leave. And so I'm trying to figure out going forward if we should just post them or if we're good and we don't have to. But I don't want an issue to come up next month where 3 people show up and 1 person doesn't feel like they can stay.
I think you wouldn't have to post it, but if something comes up and somehow started discussing it, or someone might allege that you were discussing it,
Somebody should.
then the posting would be safer course of action.
So next month, we do post or don't post? I mean, you're saying.
Is there a cost associated with it?
Is there a-
No, so just go ahead and post it.
I would
Every second Wednesday, or Sunday of the month.
Does that meeting become public then?
It's always.
It's always been public.
And see, the thing is like Ben and Melissa are part of it for Beyond Yellow Ribbon.
I'm a part of it because I was been a part of it since I was on
Right.
as liaison, and then I stayed a part of it when I was off as city council. And actually, we don't have a representative from Beyond the Yellow Ribbon there, because you have myself, you have Lori, you have Melissa.
True.
So we don't actually technically have a representative there. So
Okay.
I'm there on my own, not as an affiliation with any other thing from the city.
So yeah, so Ben is there because he's part of the board. Wait, you're not
No,
even, you're just there.
I'm there.
You're like me.
Yep.
I'm there as the liaison. Michelle is there because she's got some other affiliations, like Relay for Life and a couple other things that benefit it.
I don't think you have to post it, but it sounds like maybe you should.
Okay.
I mean, and I think that's what.
Just to be safe,
what
okay.
the league
I like to be
said.
conservative.
Okay.
You don't want someone alleging,
No.
hey, I saw 3 of you there,
That's the
you were
concern.
talking, I don't
Right.
know what you talked about.
Okay.
Yeah. Sounds good. Thank you.
Did we go through Ben's? Yes, we did. Okay, we're good.
Have a good man.
Kevin.
All I have for you is the activity report for last month, just the special mention of the acknowledgements. First one to Matt Menard. While the Army was here, he made himself very available to them to help out with anything they needed from our station, from in here, after hours when the city wasn't around. So thanks to Matt for doing that. And then Mike Markenton for a repair to our AC unit and a relief valve on engine 12. Other than that, that's all I got.
Thank you.
One of our busy time of the year being Park and Rec. We want to let you all know that Eric did come back. He did get sworn in, and so welcome to him. We have got Summer Splash coming up this coming Saturday, the 15th. Hope everybody comes up to that. We have a couple things in the works for potential new events coming up. One of which we will ask for approval on from you guys. We are looking at potentially redoing or trying again the movie in a park or a movie in here or something, but doing a community movie. And we would need approval from council to look at getting the licensing, et cetera, for that. So if you guys want to discuss that tonight, we need for approval on it.
Jill, are you looking at it at all? No? It's only been a week.
It's not even been a week. It's been like 4 days.
Oh, Kanye, we were late working. We didn't meet till Thursday.
I have not looked into it. I will look into it.
Because it's roughly right, if we do it outside, it's like $500, right? Inside is way cheaper.
Last time we did it was 150.
To do it inside?
Yep.
Okay. And really, you guys had the money based on what was approved because you didn't do a couple activities and so you would just shift that funding.
Correct.
You can probably run it under Sean's spending.
Or just Sean's credit card.
What's that?
I said, or we just put on Sean's credit card.
Certainly can.
Okay, so is there a motion? Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve moving forward with movie in the park after Jill's findings on what they discussed at Park and Rec.
I'll second.
Ben,
Aye.
Melissa? Aye. Jill? Aye. I vote aye. Lloyd?
Aye.
All in favor, or motion passes 5-0. All in favor, aye.
Thank you. We also want to, we had asked at the last Park and Rec meeting about the contract that we had done or worked on last year, and wanted to make sure that it covered all parks, not just one or two certain parks. Did anybody ever find an answer to that?
Maggie sent us an email.
Yes.
Do you want to shed some light on that email that you sent?
Yeah, so I just kind of looked back at the, I don't have it in front of me. It looks like there is a contract that we created and it was approved by the council for city facilities. We require it to be filled out by anyone that uses it. It's a free, looks like we approved it to be free at cost. I mean, free for anyone to register, and then it would be a $25 fee if electricity needed to be turned on at that facility.
But there is a damage deposit.
I thought we,
No,
and that's why I asked.
It got changed.
Because I thought it was supposed to be treated the same as this building.
Was it just that they would be held liable for the damage?
Right, so the contract, the last discussion that we had at the council meeting was, it was written in a way that they would be liable for any damages because they signed the application. And so that's, according to Andy at that meeting, was enough to say that they would be responsible if any damages occurred.
Okay, so then, just to clarify, so moving forward, anybody that's using a park, if there's electricity in it, it's $25.
Right.
Is it per day, per use?
I would say
It's per use, but I did that it was excluding nonprofit organizations,
Nonprofits,
right?
right.
So, most of the time they only use it one day or one afternoon.
Right.
So do we have that somewhere on the website available for people? Because I don't think people realize that they can like reserve Veterans Park for family reunion or something.
We had quite a few calls.
Good. Yeah, people come in. I can make sure it's available online as well.
So how do we then enforce it? Because there are events that are coming up. That's kind of why this was brought up. The reason there was a contract in place is due to an organization that damaged a park. So does the city reach out to these guys and state that, since you have electricity being used, you have a $25?
Well, I don't think don't they have to turn it, doesn't Public Works have to turn these? No, my understanding was that they had to turn on at some facilities.
We turn them on, but then they're on for the summer.
They're on all year. Yeah. So Carterfield, for example, that was the park that was damaged last year, and there's going to be a couple things coming up, but one is a nonprofit. Does the city reach out to them and remind them that they need to fill out the contract and pay their $25? Or does the Park and Rec reach out to them? Who is responsible?
When they come in to tell us they're going to use it and get a key, we can just make them.
They won't be getting a key because they already have a key.
Oh, well, then I guess there's no way for us to, we can touch with them, but.
Well, it comes through me. That's what I'm asking, because they'll just contact me to get the key because it's Carter Field.
Then make them come up there to us.
Yeah.
If they're gonna contact you, then tell them that before you'll give them a key, they have to come and see us.
I agree.
I just didn't want to, if it was just, whatever. That's not all, because there is other parks being used within the same
I mean,
month,
like which ones?
which this park will be used in August. So how do we treat that one? Because it's Montrose Days.
Well, I guess they would register as well. If
I
they're
don't
using,
know.
if they're not a nonprofit.
Are they nonprofit? They're not 501 yet.
I mean, we require registration. It's up, I personally think it's up to them to take the initiative, which some people do. They do contact us and we actually go out and we put reservation signs up. there are gonna be people who don't, and so I guess it's kind of, I don't know, some people just won't do it. I mean, we hope that people will. I think a lot of serious people who want to make sure that they have that facility on that day, they do contact us. But I think there's some people, like on the spur of the moment, will just go out and use it if nobody's there.
Right.
So it's really just, I mean, we can try and promote it more. I don't know what else we can do. I don't think it's going to be a perfect system.
Right.
Do you guys want us to fill out something as a city-sponsored thing, like when we're doing Summer Splash? Do you want something filled out even though it's city?
I mean, I think we
can.
usually know. I mean, you can fill out the form. I think you guys are good at letting us know the dates and when and where it's going to be. If you want us to make sure that that park is reserved, like if you want us to put the signs up and stuff, I mean, that would be good for us to know.
Yeah, I mean, we're happy to do it since, I mean, you know, we asked for it a year ago, so I guess if we're asking for it, we should do it too. Fair is fair.
Well, because I'm trying to, the $25 fee is for electricity at, say, Veterans Park.
We have
Veterans Park.
Lions Park and Carver Field.
We have Lions Park, but really Lions Park, so Michelle's concern is that, you know, Montrose Days uses the electricity here while they're here for that weekend event, but they're using that electricity for other organizations
Right.
that are nonprofit.
For a community event.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of falls into a gray area.
Do we need to work better on the wording of this contract then? For better
I mean, because
communication?
they're pulling the electricity from this building specifically, right? I mean, that's where they're pulling it from.
The whole park. You're in the whole park.
They pull off the power off the posts out there, so.
Oh, sure, because of the lots of I think for this year, because there's so much confusion and uncertainty, and the fact that, I mean, a lot of you guys didn't even, well, I won't say you guys, just in general, we weren't really sure that this forum would even existed, if there was kind of discussion to under the radar. So I think if it's something that we want to pursue going forward, we need to make these organizations aware that there's a form that now needs to be filled out if they want to use an entire park. But I think for this year, it's too soon. I mean, it's a month away.
I think one thing you just have to think about too, that I understand that it is a gray area, but you're also like letting them use public land, and I mean, it is a city event.
Totally, I think they should fill the form out, but there's the confusion on the $25 for the electricity. What's your take on that, Maggie? I don't know.
How about our attorney? Do you have any? I don't know. I mean,
2 times in 1 minute.
I know, you drove a long way, so.
It sounds like a policy decision. You want us to look at the form and try to make it more stringent or clear, we certainly could, but.
I can honestly tell you that if someone uses Veterans Park for a day for, say, a graduation party, and they plug into power over there, you can't even notice the difference on the bill. So the amount of power they pull is so insignificant that, now maybe running Carver Field where you have the lights on all night long might be different, but in these other parks, when someone uses it for a day, it's the $25 is kind of a lot for what, like I said, there's not even a difference on the bill. It's so insignificant. So I don't know what you want.
So we can just have them sign this application or reserve damage.
Right.
You know.
Right, then at least we would know who's
Yeah,
there.
we don't have to charge $25 either
Well,
way.
on the application it states that there's a $25 electricity fee.
Scratch that off.
Well,
By signing it.
but Carver, for the damage, but we still keep it at the Carver Field one? Or do we?
That probably don't cost that much either, does it?
It depends on how long, late into the night they play, where they run the lights, like when the kids play ball over there, the little kids. Even if they do, you can't tell the difference,
No,
but
it's just the.
it's on late into the night.
Playing over there. Like
Well, there's a
a few
3-day
years
tournament.
back, they used to have the lights on 4 or 5 nights a week.
Well, there's just the tournament that's coming up. It's going to be on
Yeah,
Friday.
from those days, but charge it to the Montrose Committee.
No, it wouldn't go to them. It would go to the organization that's doing it. Which that's where it should go anyway, because that was the part that was damaged by that group that's over there.
You could still have the contract that they fill out and just stipulate that the $25 charge is if they use the lights at Carver Field. Because like I said, the other parks, that there's just not enough is used.
Or what if we were to do like, or for an event in excess of 1 day, right? Which would really then only be Carver Field, but that way if somebody were to have an event at Veterans Park, say, and they've got a bounce house plugged in for the weekend, you might notice it. You still might not, but ultimately it's the taxpayers that are paying for it, and should they be?
And again, that goes back to the one that I mentioned, or the 3-day lot. What kind of power is used from them? I mean, I can't really determine that. So we either have to have a policy in place for all parks, or we can't just pick and choose parks. So for this year, let's just say moving forward for Carver Field, the policy is in place because, like I said, that's why this all came about anyway. And then for next year, moving forward, put a little more clarification into the contract. Does that work? Anybody?
Yeah, I think reviewing the contract and taking a look at it wouldn't be a bad thing.
But enforcing it for the Carver Field for this year.
Yeah, that's what we're.
Because there was about, what was the damage last year at Carver Field, Sean? Do you remember roughly?
I don't right off the top of my head.
Did we ever get reimbursed for that? Because I believe there was a letter sent, wasn't there?
There was a letter, but we didn't want.
No one recalls.
There was a letter sent, but there was no.
No reimbursement.
Correct.
Okay.
$300, was it? If I were to guess. Plus our time.
Okay. Do we need a motion?
No, because it's already an active policy.
Well, it is an active policy, but we're changing it because we're not enforcing it to all parks. Because if we did,
I thought we were keeping it the same for the 2017 and reviewing it for 2018.
right, so then if we keep it the same, then the event that's going on here that's not really fully aware of what's going on would be charged $25 per day. For
Is it
using
per
our
day?
electricity.
Per event?
Per event, which is a 3-day event. So
Right,
they'd be
which
charged-
is all just one event though.
But it's still charged.
Yeah.
But like Wendy said, out here it isn't that big of a deal. Carver Park, when you got the big floodlights going, that's a different story.
They must notice, there must be the electric must go increase for those 3 days here.
Hold on. And if it states as the same as the community center, it's per day.
But that's not, I don't think it does state that.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. So just keep it this way for Carver Field. And for next year moving forward, we'll relook at the contract to get more clarification. Anybody? You guys are done. I'll move on to the last thing. Are we good, Wendy?
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so the last item that we have is, there's a couple things, ideas we're toying with Park and Rec. And if we decide to move forward with that, we need to have approval from council for fundraising, in which case we need to get the letter from you, Wendy.
Cities cannot fundraise. I don't believe cities can fundraise, can they?
maybe that's the wrong term, sponsorship?
You can, let's look into that.
Okay. That was something discussed at last meeting, and they said make sure to ask for approval at this meeting, so.
And it was also discussed that the part of the commission's duty was to fundraise, to raise funds for the parks.
It is in the book.
Sorry.
City code, or park commission.
Because how do other cities and everything raise money and funds to build parks?
Under private.
Well, no, the cities do it. You can see that they.
They raise money for hockey rink, and they got to.
Usually, I mean, my understanding is like there, a lot of parks are, like, I know there was a park in another city I worked for, like their fundraising was, I mean, I don't know, it was on a public property, but it was through the school system. So that park was.
How is it considered, don't you guys? Doesn't the city allow their water bills to be increased by pennies?
To donate to parks.
To donate to parks, so what is that considered?
It's not fundraising, because we looked into that.
Well, what's the terminology?
I don't know.
I mean, so
I don't
really.
remember.
Wouldn't that be a donation, technically?
Yeah.
Right, and so maybe we term it donations for the parks, and you're covered, I don't know.
That's a legal
So
thing.
it's in the city code?
I'm pretty sure it is under park and rec. I don't have the book in front of me. I'm pretty sure it is.
So let's, I think maybe we should look into it.
I think Mark's gonna be calling.
No.
I'll bring it up.
Okay, because he just like intently went to his computer.
So once we have an answer on that, that's all, we're done. So just remind you guys all Saturday, come and get wet.
Party in the park.
Yes.
Planning and zoning, in front of you are the June 21st, 2017 planning and zoning minutes. I can answer any questions if you have any.
So I noticed under the miscellaneous section on page 35 of those minutes, that, you discussed that the council sent that ordinance change about recreational vehicles back to the commission for further review. Is there a reason that wasn't added on to an old business so that they could have officially had discussion on it?
I mean, my understanding is that so you guys,
I wasn't at that council meeting.
so the council
directed
directed the planning commission to reconsider changing the ordinance to add 3 recreational vehicles and allowing a space in the front
Yep.
parking. In order to do that, you have to repost for a public hearing for the planning to, otherwise it's gonna take a lot longer if they do it, so they need to rediscuss and hold a public hearing to get input on those 2 items.
So that discussion has to be held in the form of a public hearing?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
So with that, I'm glad you brought that up. The planning and zoning, one of the commissions reached out to me to have a workshop because this has been dragged on for so long. And just to get clarification, to have a workshop with the council and the planning and zoning to sit down together and discuss this, hash it out, and just kind of, so that we don't go planning and zoning council back and forth. So is it set up maybe, hopefully?
Yeah, so, I mean, me and Mark discussed kind of the options, and we felt that the best approach would be to invite and have like a joint planning commission slash special council meeting on the regular planning commission night, where if the council wants to make a decision that night, they can. After the planning and zoning meeting, they will hold the public hearing that night to get resident input, but then at that time you guys can have a collaborative meeting where you can discuss the issue, and then at the end, if the council does not want to wait till August to make a decision, then a decision can pass the ordinance with amendments if there are any, I mean, we'll have a draft ordinance available that night, but if there's, per that discussion, any changes, then it can be approved that night.
So that will take place on the July 19th meeting.
Have fun.
You can't make it? How about you?
I can't promise yet.
So as long as us three, we have to have at least three.
I'm usually.
Oh, you're usually there to do the liaison, so that would be you.
Make it work.
Okay, because we just gotta get clarification on this and be done. All right, thank you. Did you want to do it?
Yeah, right here.
Sorry.
Jack Schneider. Honorable Mayor, Council, this item is coming before you after being considered by the Planning Commission, and it's for consideration to adopt a ordinance pertaining to rental, essentially rental inspections and regulation. There was a lot of discussion at the Planning Commission over the course of several meetings relating to this topic and this potential ordinance. Ultimately, through the discussion that the Planning Commission had and just research from staff and just talking through some of the various issues, it was at least recommended by the Planning Commission that the City Council consider adopting a rental ordinance that would essentially require the registration of property owners with the city. And the Planning Commission's recommendation was essentially to start a process by which landowners or rental property owners are essentially introduced to the city and then registered with the city, and then in that process could be also educated by the city on what the requirements of the various maintenance and other aspects of the city's already in place, ordinances, nuisances, noise, things like that. In doing this, it would be essentially a two-phase process. This would be kind of the first phase to initiate this contact with property owners. It would give the city a direct contact so we know who the management of a particular property is. So if we had an issue with that property, we could go directly then to the person who is on record rather than us trying to track down either through the resident at the property who's not necessarily the owner, or trying to get property records or other things. Trying to find who that owner is. So this would give us kind of that direct contact to the management of that property. And then in doing so, we'd also just then have the ability to kind of contact that property owner, get them in our system. If this program was successful and if the city in the future wanted to then initiate an inspection program, that could be a second piece to this. It would be something we'd have to amend the ordinance to do, but it would be something that would come at a future date, rather than trying to do it all at once. And then there's going to be a lot of, I think, kind of residual from the establishment of this ordinance and the city trying to get contact with the people who run and manage, own and manage these properties. Rather than trying to do that all at once, we said, from the Planning Commission standpoint, let's step into this, get this on the books, and then see how it works, and then we can move forward in the future. So that was a little bit of the discussion that was had over the course of several meetings. This draft ordinance would, the recommended ordinance that's being presented would establish the requirement for a property owner to register with the city. We've included a draft form essentially that would show you kind of what it would look like for a owner to register. So there's an application essentially that they have to fill out, what information we'd be requesting. And then there also would be the opportunity for the city to provide certain educational pieces such as the lease addendum for crime-free, drug-free housing. It wouldn't be a mandatory piece of information, but it would be something we'd give out with the registration saying, have you thought about this? You know, maybe this is something you want to include as an addendum to your lease, as that is a piece that's kind of private and solely associated with the lease agreement between the landlord and the tenant. So with that, the city did look at a lot of
various ordinances in surrounding cities, kind of a whole or a wide array of ordinances, and found that for the most part, cities that had initiated at least the registration program were having success with that. Cities who had initiated an inspection program, we had talked to some local cities around here that had initiated one and then dropped it because they couldn't, they got so much kickback on it. And it was difficult to inspect and enforce, and it was extraordinarily resource intensive. And so a lot of the cities that we talked to said they went with this, and at least it gives them that point of contact. So that's the recommendation from the Planning Commission. They did hold a public hearing. There were no comments made, either written or at the public hearing related to the ordinance. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I have a question. So with this, so the apartment buildings that we currently have in town are obviously rental, and then with those, property owners would have to contact the city, and then if the city can go in there and, no.
So we do state, and we're, the application, which you're not approving, that's something we can just put together. We do have a provision in the application that they would sign, and some cities have put in some signature, some language that just says they understand that the city could inspect the property if there were found to be violations, but we would not be doing inspections as a matter of course, only upon finding or determining that they were in violation of a particular ordinance. So we would not be doing proactive inspections of those properties.
So say with either the apartment buildings or if a resident was to reach out to a member of the council and state that they felt that, as it's in here, that it's not, where was it? Livable, like moldy kind of situations, then does the city have the right to go in and inspect it?
Not just inherently, no. We'd have to go through a notification process, and we'd still have to go through kind of the same thing we have to do today. What this gives us is we now have contact with the property owner. We know at least who on paper they registered with the city, and then hopefully we at least kind of have a leg up on trying to be able to remedy that situation. Versus right now, we just don't know who owns and who's responsible, who the managers are. Some could be out of the area, out of the state. So it's kind of that first step, trying to get us at least in contact with the property manager.
You said it would be voluntary?
Yeah, right. This program would be by ordinance required to register. So all property owners would be required by ordinance to register their properties with the city. So that's kind of a first step.
However, it is basically up to the property owner to register. I mean, there's no really good way for us as a city to know where all of the rental properties are.
Right. And that would be true if we were going to go full bore into an inspection program or whatever. I mean, it would be the same thing. We'd have to determine who and what properties are rented.
If I could, just for 1 second, speaking of this inspection thing, a number of years ago, there was some thinking changes by the council for public works. We had to have court order to enter property. So I don't know if I'm sure the same rules apply to this. So I haven't heard that being talked about. I just was going to throw that out for your information.
Sure, well I know the city of Duluth, when they need to do inspections, it's a little bit bigger and they actually have, I think, 6 now full-time staff that does nothing but that. But they send out a letter to the property address and then also to the property owner that's on file. And then the property owner has, even though it's going to the address where the renter is, they still have the property owner 72 hours to notify the resident before the inspection is to happen, because they schedule it on their own. And someone has to be home, and if you don't show up or there's no one there, the city charges you $100, and then they reschedule it. So, I mean, that's, you know, I mean, you know, we have to give notice and things like that. I know that's kind of an extreme opposite, but you can't just go in. And like, and even if I want to go into my own house, I still have to give the renters 72 hours notice that, depending on the situation, it's anywhere from 24 to 72 that, you know, I'm going to be coming into the house to, you know, fix something or whatever the situation might be, unless it's an emergency.
What happens if the renter has complaints maybe about electrical or something in there? They come to the city and this place is registered or?
Then
that would be
it's all on,
too.
no, it's all on the Duluth is the same way. It's all on the honor system. I mean, to register it, and then they obviously charge a pretty high fee. You know, so if somebody complains and they find out it's not registered, then the city will start the process. They'll send you the paperwork, you have to have it registered by a certain date, you know, and then they come out and they do an inspection, and then you have to, you know, fix things. That their code is kind of crazy. There's a lot of stuff in there. But I mean, so you have a certain days to fix it by, and then they go out and really re-inspect to make sure that it's up to their code. But I mean, it's the same thing. It's all in the honor policy, you know, so unless you just go ahead and do it, or you know, they find out some other way. I mean, they don't know.
I think initially the intent would be that
we don't enforce or can't enforce. This kind of sounds like enough.
This is, I mean, there'd be an educational piece we try to get out to the rental community, that we've got a new ordinance in place that require to register their property. I think the approach to this is we've got to get somebody that we can talk to about owning the property, who's running the property, before we can get in there to have them start improving the properties or correcting deficiencies in the properties. And so at least this starts that dialogue, and then if it's successful, we can get people registered and we can work with people. Maybe we don't even ever need to do anything more. This would take care of a lot of the problems, because we'd be able to take a complaint and then reach out and just work with people to get it corrected. We still have the same remedies that we have today under our ordinance for building code violations, electrical code, fire code, you know, the various things. And then just nuisance and livability and some of those things. We do have ordinances in place. Maybe not as direct, but that would allow the city to get involved if we chose to be involved.
So, this is, I need to understand how this will work. So, I'm gonna use a trailer park down here as an example. They're renters and all that, we know who the owner is. But a year ago, a year and a half ago maybe, there was complaints down there on homes that needed to be condemned. So the city wasn't, I don't think, was able to do anything. So what ended up happening was going to the county. How then, would this help at all, being able to go down there? Because like, it took a year and a half to get unlivable homes down there. And that was just me going back and forth to public health, and so.
This wouldn't speed that up necessarily. I mean, there's still the same process we'd have to go through for that scenario. But like, you know, if we had I don't know a good example, maybe the siding's coming off the property and it looks unsightly, and we know that we've got a property. If we have the registration, we reach out to those property owners, the management company, or the manager, the landlord. I mean, hopefully we can work with some of those to get some of those kind of day-to-day things fixed without having to go through a more extensive process.
Anything else? Any other discussion?
This would also assist the utility department greatly, because there's a lot of times we don't know who's living in the house, who owns the house. We end up sending out a utility bill with that says no billing information and the address. And then hopefully somebody will get back to us, so by having at least the landlord registered, you'll know.
Right, and if we're trying to enforce ordinances on a more regular basis now, this might be a better way to do that too. Because say there's an ordinance violation at somebody's house, and it doesn't necessarily pertain directly to the renter, they can just be throwing it in the trash, and that might be why some of these aren't getting resolved, because they don't care, they just rent the place, they don't care if there's an ordinance violation. Whereas now these ordinance violations, you know, if they pertain more to the homeowner versus the renter, that ordinance violation can go directly to the owner.
We also run into the problem where we don't know that it's the person that's living there, we don't know that they're a renter, and we send a violation letter to them.
Right.
And they could care less because it's not going to be on their dime.
Right.
So they throw it away. So if it's a lawn mowing or something and they're renting, they don't care. They'll throw it away, and we end up assessing the owner when we finally find out, you know, down the road that, oh, it's somebody else. So this would help in that way too.
Is there a motion then to?
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 2017-5, so regarding residential rental property registration and inspection.
I'll second that.
Ben?
Aye.
Lloyd?
Aye.
Jill?
Aye.
Melissa? Aye. I'll vote aye. Motion passes 5-0. WCAT?
Nope, Millhausen.
Oh, sorry.
They're sitting on it. I so she still forgets you.
Honorable Mayor Council, this item also came before the Planning Commission. It's a request to amend the conditional use permit for the property located at 405 Nelson Boulevard. The Millhausens had approached the city in discussions about some of the site improvements that were required as a part of the initial CUP that was granted in 2016. We met a couple of months ago. We talked through some of the items, and it was noted at that time by the owners that once they were able to kind of get into those buildings, get onto the site, start cleaning some of that up, getting the site to a point that it was usable, they found that a portion of one of the buildings to be removed, and then the entirety of the other building that was to be removed were actually in better shape, and they determined that they would like to keep those. As a result of that, we had noted that they needed to amend the conditional use permit so that the site plan, the buildings that were to be to remain, as well as the then parking configuration and access into the site. In order for that to all be memorialized and captured, we recommended amending the conditional use permit so that the city could get that put in place. So they came through the process, went to the Planning Commission at the last meeting. Essentially what they're looking at is there is a portion of the existing building on the east side of the property that they would like to keep that had originally been shown to be removed. There is the entirety of the building located along the west side of the property that they would like to keep in place that had originally been shown as being removed. And then as a result of that, as well as just them wanting to try to make the site as usable as possible for the car sales business, they would like to locate vehicles right along Highway 12, perpendicular to Highway 12, and in the original site plan approval, they had shown a access driveway through that area. And so they've shown how they could keep the two buildings, reconfigure the parking, still maintain the same number of parking spaces as had originally been shown. In doing that, they'd also noted that they'd like to remove a portion of the curb and gutter that was originally approved. That's shown in pink in the packet, I believe in your packet it shows up. That portion of the parking, surrounding the parking that's directly adjacent to an existing building, and or on the, what would be the north side of that site to allow for potential expansion if they wanted to. At some point, they were proposing not to incorporate the curb and gutter in that area. With that, Planning Commission had a discussion, held a public hearing, and the Planning Commission noted that they wanted to make sure that MnDOT would still be approached and would approve the access reorientation along Highway 12. It was noted that that access is actually being shifted to the east a little bit from what was proposed in the original plan. And it was noted at that time that the conditions of the original conditional use permit would remain in place, and that was one of the conditions. So this wouldn't change that piece. They still would have to have MnDOT approval. And so with that, Planning Commission made a recommendation to amend the conditional use permit subject to the additional conditions noted in the resolution attached. Would that be happy to answer any questions?
Now, is that, you said they have to move that driveway that's on Highway 12, which really it's kind of a sticky hill.
Yeah, I haven't heard back anything.
I haven't heard anything from MnDOT.
And I know Justin Zeldin, so he might have been our point of contact this week, but I know he was reaching out to see what they were going to allow with that. What we were talking, or what's being proposed is that instead of it shifting approximately 25 feet or something like that, it's shifting 15 feet to the east, so it would be less of a shift than what had originally been considered. And looking at it just strictly from a kind of engineering planning standpoint, we had looked at that access just coming in, so it didn't come directly into the existing building. It would actually line up a little bit further east so that it would allow access to come in around the building, but we'll have to ultimately hear back from MnDOT on that. What's being proposed works both ways. It's ideal that it wouldn't stop what they were trying to do if MnDOT would want us to tweak that a little bit more. Yeah.
Is there going to be a time limit on moving that driveway? Because I think Highway 12 might be doing some rework there. That would be a good time to have it done. Whether that be this year or a couple of years.
Mark Ryan from MnDOT told me that they will be moved, that they will be coming through and doing Highway 12. And he also told me that the city of Montrose doesn't have any access rights on Highway 12, that's through the state. He would look at the plans that I sent him and get back to me, but he said I wouldn't get your hopes up about moving it. So I told him my plan was I'm going to asphalt it down that extra 15 feet, and when highway, either you can approve it and we'll do it at that time, or when you come through with Highway 12, you can do it then. He said, I'll look into it, and that's all he told me.
I think the Highway 12 construction is scheduled for 2021, isn't it?
He said 2 years is what he told me on the phone, so whatever that
really?
meant.
I mean,
I think
just
they
so
go
we're
as
not back
2021.
here in 6 months and, oh, he didn't move that driveway.
Well, you are moving the driveway now.
Yep, I'm putting the asphalt down 15 feet, so if I do have to do, you don't move it, I can do it, or the state can do it, but the driveway will be there.
I don't think we're really high on the radar.
Yeah.
No. But I know how it is at dealing with Highway 12 or any highways.
Yeah.
With driveways in or moving. Sticky on that.
Is there any more discussion?
Justin signed off on the approved letter.
It's all good, Mark, right?
Yep.
Is there a motion? Is there somebody?
No, I was just, I was going to ask them if that was, is that right now the way it's in trouble?
Yep, that'll be good.
Is there a motion for approval?
I make a motion to approve changes.
To approve resolution 2017-15? Okay, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Lloyd?
Aye.
I'll vote aye. Jill? Aye. Melissa? Aye. Ben?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
I get to change.
Right here where we're following along. They should have followed along there, man. Yeah, why this is right, and I tell them it's 2017.
So are we good to asphalt? I mean, is that?
According to this plan.
Yes.
This plan.
Because it'll be done by the end of the week if it's green light. So yes?
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
Their phone is in their hand.
I've been wanting to do this for a while, so I literally, as soon as I'm texting him.
Are you doing it now?
He's gonna come and do it. Tomorrow and Wednesday.
It's gonna rain tomorrow.
I hope not.
Hopefully it's not the same crew that's supposed to do the community center tomorrow.
No, I don't know who you guys have to do this one.
Bowman's?
No, I'm having some and they can do it. What cool things.
Maybe you'll send them over here, maybe they can do ours. Thank you.
Nice.
We're good? All right, what do we got? WCAT.
Just a couple of things. I went to the meeting on June 20th. WCAT is still with McLeod and Sibley County with Trailblazer. There was a couple months there, I think, where they were trying to decide whether they were going to stay together or not, but they are still part of the Joint Powers Agreement. They've been making some headway on changing a few things in the agreement. The other part is they invited the Wright County Commissioners to come to the WCAT meeting that day so we could discuss the possibility of the county joining WCAT rather than the cities just doing all the funding. And some of the new commissioners were open to that, so they were going to discuss it. I think they were going to have a meeting of the whole and they were going to discuss that. Also, the $200 and some thousand, it's about $260,000 that was sent back to the county after River Rider was all done and the buses and everything were sold, they had that money left. There was discussion about that coming to WCAT to be used for the Trailblazer. So they agreed that they would discuss that also in the meeting of the whole. So as of right now, the operating invoices and the capital invoices that WCAT has, they're sitting on still to see if we get this money, so the cities don't have to pay for that. So right now, hopefully we'll get the money and the cities don't have to pay anything out. And then the only other thing in here is the ridership for, they actually did the 2015, 16, and 17 to date ridership just to show where it's at. Montrose has been actually doing, I think it started out in 2015, there was 1,126 rides. And so far in 2017, we're up to 1,258 rides. So we're already more than what we did in 2015, only halfway through the year. So it's getting used. It's a good thing. That was pretty much it.
All right, thank you. Justin's not here. Sean, you got some updates for Justin though?
I can certainly go through this for Justin. Justin and I had a conversation a couple weeks ago regarding the Garfield Avenue project and in conjunction with the Montrose Meadows improvements. And we decided that we would probably have to have an open house on this topic. We thought it would be beneficial to the residents for any questions regarding parking and accessing housing in and out while the construction process is going. And we determined that the 18th of July from 5 to 7 would be a good time to do that. So we're inviting anybody that wishes to come to the community center to talk about that. That's when it will be. We also received bids that day, on July 18th, and we're looking at a special meeting on July 24 to to award the biddings. And if the council awards that, construction will be sometime between August and October, depending on what the contractor, the award-winning contractor, their schedule. So that's kind of where we're going with that.
All right, thank you.
So on that note, also at that July meeting, we'll be bringing forth, I think it's a resolution for the street reconstruction. Anytime you do the street reconstruction, we have to make sure it's done appropriately by resolution. And in that resolution, we can do up to 5 years worth of street reconstruction. So we'll include the Garfield Montrose Meadows one, and we'll also include this downtown area. So that we can take care of it all at one time, so we can approve the street reconstruction plan or program, and we don't have to go back and redo it all over again, because this way, I'll put the notice in the paper tomorrow, you'll call for the public hearing, which will be held on July 24th, and you can approve the plan at that time. It'll show in the resolution that if we want to do any kind of bonding, we can. We put in there the $500,000 for the Montrose Meadows and Garfield, even though we're going to pay for some of that from cash reserves. And it'll also include the downtown part. The numbers we put in there doesn't necessarily mean that that's how much we have to bond for, it just means that's what the maximum would be. So it includes this one down here and that way. So then it will take care of it all at one time, because we can do 5 years at a time by state statute for the street reconstruction. So that'll also be addressed that night.
Oh, sorry.
Question. Would we need to have bids on that before we know how much money actually it's going to cost to do all that?
We'll be opening bids that night, but we know we're not going to be, if we end up having to bond, like say for the Garfield Montrose Meadows, because we didn't plan on doing the Montrose Meadows originally. So if we do have to bond, we know we're not going to do it for the whole entire amount. So if the project itself is a $500,000 or a $550,000 project, we wouldn't be bonding that much anyway. So we just put in there what the max would be.
Kind of like the budget, you'd always put
Right.
it high.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
And then that just takes care of doing it all at one time. We don't have to publish it again and do
Yeah,
it
right.
again. It just takes
If
care of
it's
it.
less, that's a blessing.
Yeah.
So start praying, is that what you're saying?
Day and night.
Any other questions?
For the streets fall apart.
Personnel committee, Jill.
Okay. We met just last Thursday for the July meeting. There was some discussion about firefighter discipline, discussion on the code of conduct, the rules of civility for public participation poster that we've had in place for quite some time. We are going to make an effort at getting that out and using it at commission meetings in the future. I think we're also going to print off the same document or a similar document that all commission members were going to sign, just so we can ensure that all meetings are moving smoothly and everybody's being respectful. There was just discussion on signing the annual reviews that were done back in April, I think. And then discussion on the personnel. That the August personnel meeting would have a policy handbook for the fire department at that time for review. And the fire chief position will be open for applications again in August. That was it in a nutshell. It's in the packet if you want. If you have any questions, certainly reach out. It was short and sweet.
All right, administrative. Is that going to be Maggie or Wendy? Or both?
Well, in the packet is a memo that I sent, that I did after the workshop that we had. And it says a follow-up to the discussion regarding the County Sheriff's Department contract hours from that workshop. The general consensus at the workshop was to stay with the Wright County Sheriff's Department for patrol within the city of Montrose rather than going with our own police department. So the decision that needs to be made is whether to stay at 8 hours of patrol per day or increase to 10 hours per day. The increase in hours would give the city an extra 730 hours of coverage per year and would put the Wright County Sheriff's deputy in the city or within 2 miles of the city for approximately 16 hours per day, because we would kind of combine with Waverly. The hourly rate for 2018 is going to $72 an hour, which is a $2.50 increase over 2017. If we stay at 8 hours of coverage a day, the cost would be $210,240. If you go to 10 hours, it's $262,800. So I did just some estimates based on the current market value, what I think it's, roughly where it's at, and what the taxable market value of a home would be. So if say your taxable market value of your home is $150,000, this year you paid about $163.95 for Sheriff's Patrol. In 2018, it would actually, if you stay at 8 hours, it would go down to about $161 because of the increase in the market value. And if you went to 10 hours, you would go up to $202. So it'd be a difference of about not quite $40 for the extra coverage on a home that has a taxable market value of $150. Then I did the $175 and the $200,000. I just said because of the increase in the city's market value and increase in hours will have very little impact on the taxes for 2018. So the action needed would be a motion by the council to remain with the Wright County Sheriff's Department for 2018 patrol services at 8 hours per day or increase to 10 hours per day. The contract with Wright County, I believe, comes up in August. So they'll want to know what to put in the contract. That's why we brought it to tonight's meeting.
Is there any discussion?
I think, for the cost, if we have somebody within 2 miles of the city for 16 hours a day, that's actually pretty good for the difference in the cost.
Where's the money coming from in the budget?
Well, we would have to budget for it for this next year. So, it would be part of this next year's budget, which it is every year. The Sheriff's Patrol is part of the budget.
But based on the taxable market value and where, homes are at and how many homes we have within the city, we shouldn't necessarily have to increase the taxes just to afford the additional hours.
I couldn't tell you that without doing, without doing a whole entire budget. Because I don't know what else we have to look at for budget, but it wouldn't be a big impact on it, no. Not a large impact. We have not increased, like we talked about at the June meeting, we haven't increased our hours since 2004. They've been at 8 hours since 2004, when we were at 1,800 people. We're now at 3,300 people.
This is a tough decision. Just because, you guys know that we've done a couple workshops and stuff on this. I took it upon myself to do 5 classes with Wright County and then just a ride-along on Friday, just to kind of determine, because we always see, the biggest complaint is we see Wright County City for hours or whatever, whether it's at City Hall or whatever. And to kind of get a feel for what they're doing, an average ticket is 20 minutes. And I got to see that firsthand. I know they say that to us, but to actually see it from the time that they stop and then fill out the report, whether it's a ticket or not, to input all the information and everything and so on and so on, is an average of 20 minutes to a half an hour. So, so when we do see them just kind of hanging out, they are actually working. And I did question another time too that they were observed an hour and a half sitting, and then I got the feedback too that it was that they were actually doing a report on a drug-related issue. So, but then I also went above and beyond, I guess, to go house to house and ask residents, do you want to see an increase of patrol? Do you feel safe? Do you just the questions, and it was on Facebook too. But I went out and talked to the neighbors, and I do think it is, I personally think we're good where we're at. I do think Wright County has really increased their being, Yeah, they're patrolling. And they even discussed that at the last workshop that we did, that since we brought this information to them, the officers that we have out here right now, and Captain Derringer has really pushed for the officers that we have to get out and talk more to the community and be more accessible. So, I don't know, what's your guys' opinions? Do you want to keep it the same? Do you want to increase it?
I think the sheriff's department would really like to see us increase it, and not just money in their pocket. I think
Right.
just to help out with.
Based on the, like, if you were to look at that report again, and I don't have it directly in front of me, but there definitely is an influx in calls on times when there's not patrols within our city. What's that time frame that there's that gap? 2 to 6?
2 to 6.
2 to 6. Those calls are almost as high within our city as the times where there's coverage here. So I do feel like there's a need. Go ahead. You wanna say?
No, yeah, I was just gonna say too, that just because there's the high number that are recorded, aren't necessarily that they're calls in, that they are the sheriff initiated stops and things like that on the higher ones, like during the coverage time that they're here. So it's not like because they're here we're having more crime, it's because they're here witnessing it and
Right.
having accountability, making record of it.
Right, but that 2 to 6 time frame, nobody's here,
Correct.
and those calls, some of those hours are higher than when they are here. And then you're pulling those resources that may be needed elsewhere away from those dedicated areas.
And my biggest problem that I hear on the street is that they wish they would patrol the neighborhoods more. I mean, people on First Avenue out there, man, I just had a conversation with a guy the other day. Boy, we could get a cop to sit here a couple mornings a week, he could issue 50, 60 tickets.
But
There's no coverage in the morning.
there's nobody here until
There's
10
nobody
o'clock.
dedicated here in town in the morning.
There wouldn't be either way.
Correct.
But there would be if we did from 10 o'clock, if we did the 10 hours, they would be here in the afternoon when people come
At
home
2 to
from work.
6.
So, you know,
So
when
they
people
would
are coming
be-
home from work at 5 o'clock,
And
they could
speeding
be
through
sitting
town.
there.
But I
That,
think
that's a common thing that people will say too, it will compensate you for a half hour and, you know, get 20 tickets out of it. We don't sit in unmarked cars, the state of Minnesota doesn't allow us, so we sit in very visible, very noticeable things and people slow down for it.
Right.
So people will say that, but they don't understand the logistics behind it. So
Though they should, because if you see a cop, you should go.
But just the visibility makes people slow
the
down.
visibility is what makes people slow down and is what makes crime deter.
Then I go under.
And I did talk to them too, I think it was brought up at our workshop, I think Doug brought it up too, so like when, for example, when we did see them for that hour and a half filling out a report, can they fill out that report and then maybe move to another more visible place to kind of get, you know, the feel, but that's not recommended. From the officer that I was with anyway, said, you know, once they, I don't remember how he clarified it, but they just want to get the report done, pretty much, and instead of, they could get sidetracked and then have to issue maybe another ticket or something. So it's not always feasible to move locations as well.
But also, isn't it, I believe the last special meeting that we had, there was discussion where if the dedicated cop knows that he's gonna have to spend an hour filling out a report, they let that area car know.
Right.
And then if that area car is available, they'll kind of scoot a little closer to the city, and patrol in the city if possible. Do you think that's all that's discussed?
You were, right. Yeah. And then I also did talk to him too, because another big concern is for the officers to be enforcing our city ordinances. And he actually pulled up the ordinances for the city of Montrose. And there's like 5 that, no, they have access to see. So if they want to enforce, say, a curfew issue or something to that effect, it's not easily accessible for them, so then they have to go to our city website and then scroll and search, and by then it's, you know, look at how much time they're putting into that. So what the suggestion from the officer that I was with is if we could just make like a little, you know, PDF or something to have our basic, you know, ordinances that we want enforced, and then send it to Captain Dan or whoever, and then they would get it to the officer that is our town clerk.
There's only certain ones they can enforce.
Most cities only have about 5 city ordinances that will
Because he
actually-
pulled up different, you know, towns and what, well, I suppose.
I mean, it's winter parking, curfew, some acceleration stuff we'll do in some cities, but we don't do the lawn stuff. We don't do the
Right.
things like that, which
Right.
I know is a big concern right now, but that's.
That's more administrative.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
And for a lot of your city ordinances, there's also state laws that coincide with them. So 9 times out of 10, we're gonna go with the state ones just because we know them right off the top of our heads, rather than go with the city ordinance violation.
I guess my only concern is at some point, because of the size of the, I mean, the way the city is growing population-wise, at some point, the step is gonna have to be taken to go to 10 hours. So I guess it's whether you take that leap now and get the 16 hours basically of coverage now, or you wait, but at some point, like I said, we're almost double what we were in 2004 when we went from 5 hours to 8 hours. We've almost doubled that population now.
So on the average, looking at the memo that you gave us, it's roughly $50 per household.
If you're in $150,000 taxable, if your taxable market value is $150,000, you're looking at a little over 30. If you're in a taxable $200,000, the taxable market value of your home is $200,000, it would be $50 for the year. And that's, you know, our taxable market value, our tax capacity could be higher. I estimated at about 1.9 million, or 1.95, I think. It could be higher. I won't know that until about October or November, when they get everything, all everything put into the system. But as of right now, it's right around 1.95. So depending on what gets added yet this year.
A lot. Right to Forest Creek.
Some, I mean, you know, there could be some added to it as they, I don't know.
I just want to, the grid that you did, Wendy, when I was looking at it was very helpful, thank you. But is that only, that's only the increase if it was a sheriff increase? That's not like the city increases the budget for this year, it's not the county stuff. I mean, when I actually get your escrow statement for your house.
No, this would only be what the effect would be on your taxes for the sheriff portion of it.
Okay, so then there'd be all the,
yeah.
Okay, so you wouldn't necessarily be looking at just $50, it could be,
No, we don't know.
$250.
Yeah, we don't know what our budget's going to come in at. We don't know what the county's going to do,
Right,
so.
or the schools.
Or the schools.
Is there a portion of our taxes now going to the law enforcement? So this is a little extra maybe? Or-
Right, so if you look on that memo, I said in 2017, if your house was at a taxable market value of $150,000, you paid about $163.95 of your taxes for police coverage. If you went to 10 hours in 2018, you would pay $202. So it's not quite $40 difference for the whole year.
Yeah.
As stated, though, that's just city, that doesn't include everything else.
That's just,
That's just the sheriff.
Sheriff.
part of the city,
Right.
yeah.
but that doesn't mean too that we couldn't pull some of that funding from other locations, you know, if we can reduce a budget somewhere else and add it to this coverage, then it wouldn't have to affect the taxes directly that way.
Right, but that's the aspect that we don't know, is where we can pull it, where we could change it, where we could do.
Correct, and we won't know that until
August.
August, and they need an answer before then, so. I do feel like there's a little bit of wiggle room in some other areas of the budget that we can try to work through.
My only concern was dealing with the budget is we also have the unplanned, well, that too, reconstruction of Montrose Meadows, that we have to figure out, because that's for the 2021 plan, I believe. We have a lot more issues out at the regional park that we planned on, that we didn't plan on, that we have to figure out in our budget. So budgeting that is going to be a little tough. That's things to consider. I mean, that's quite a few $100,000, so.
But wasn't the park supposed to be built as we can afford it?
It is.
So if we put $75,000 or $76,000 a year now, we just put that on, and something in the park don't get done, it don't get done.
We can't leave the park the way it is though.
But if.
No, but it'll be seeded or sodded or seeded.
Well, with that discussion, how many of you have gone out and checked out the regional park? Anybody?
I have not.
I just had.
I was out there once when they were
Because
going down.
currently, the regional park is not close to being done. I could be stepping out of line here. That's kind of why I was kind of hoping Justin would be here, but there's a lot of work to be finished. It is not graded to where it should be. Sean? So I don't go, you know?
I don't know if you've been out there in the last 24 hours. It looks a lot better than it did.
Okay. But we do need to have a company come in and fix it. Finish it.
I'm still formulating a plan. I'm not going to comment yet.
Okay. So potentially, there is an added cost to that, and that is something that we need to also consider.
That would probably fund in-house and use the $75,000 that we're going to put away each year to pay ourselves back.
Yeah, that's the way I originally understood.
So that
the
wouldn't be
whole park
budgeting,
started.
we wouldn't put that into the budget.
Okay.
Unless it's going to be a lot more than what we're thinking.
Well,
Because he was really hard.
right, I mean, that's exactly what we're
Because the
saying.
taxpayers are going to be on our neck if we're going to start spending all the money for the park.
No, not all. We need to finish what was
We need to
started.
finish
We're
it.
not gonna.
We've already
Or
spent.
that work that the Army did will have been for a complete waste if we don't go in and finish.
So,
If we don't do anything.
if we don't do something, if we don't finish
All of
grading
that's
it.
gonna run off.
Well, then the next 75,000, we'll spend that.
Well, if you go back and look at your accounts payable, we've already spent 74,000 this month. So,
We're over budget.
Approved. We've all put that at a council meeting. What
Right.
the estimated cost was gonna be, that was more than the 75. And we didn't use any from last year.
Yeah, but didn't we have,
we have 3 years.
what, didn't we have
3
about
years.
$140,000 or $50,000 on hand for that? So your 76,000 should come out of that.
Right, but we still have another 30,000 to put on for engineering fees, and we have.
A lot of residents
Right.
think we got too many parks already, really.
But we still have to finish and put, again, I could be online on this one and with an estimate, could be another $100,000 just to finish what's not completed. So that's something that you guys need to think about, because it's, and, you know, Justin's on vacation right now, so he can't come out and, you know, give us an estimate, but just with the discussion that's been had, it could potentially be another $100,000 just to finish what we need to do. And we only budget 75,000, so we're negative.
Well, I mean, we had 3 years worth of funding. And
No, I mean,
then,
going forward, we
Right.
have another 75 going in.
Right, so then like Wendy said too, that money would come from the available reserves essentially, and then they would pay back the cash.
Right now, as the park sits, it could be seeded this fall and not touched for
Right,
a couple of years.
but it does have to get seeded,
Correct.
or there's gonna be crazy erosion issues.
Which was all still part of the budget originally.
And what about the pond? Is that at completion?
Pond is something that we can work on in-house. Like I said, I'm formulating a plan.
Right. So that's just things that need to be considered. It's, you know, we got a lot of things in the budget that need to be figured out, you know.
But back to the parks, that won't be part of the 2018 budget.
Correct.
So that'll just be the 75,000 like we've done it before. So that doesn't, you don't
So
need to
the park
consider that.
specifically doesn't impact this decision, or should impact this decision.
Well, I'll make a motion to, for 2018, to move forward with 10 hours a day of Wright County Sheriff coverage for Montrose, and then combining it with the 6 hours of Waverly, or, you know, having a car in the area for 16 hours. Because I know I can speak personally, I appreciate seeing them in our community. I see them in my neighborhood, I see them all over. So I guess I can't speak for other people that say that they don't see them. I do, when I'm driving 30 miles an hour.
Well, I will second that.
Okay, I know. Lloyd,
What's that?
there was a first and a second motion to go to 10 hours. Ben made the motion to move forward 10 hours, Melissa seconded it.
Yeah, I did hear the second.
Yep, so it's up to you.
No vote no.
Ben,
Aye.
Melissa,
Aye.
Jill.
Aye.
Well, it doesn't matter either way, motion passed. I have to, I mean, talking with residents, they don't want the increase, they don't.
But unless you're going to every single house, you can't just
I
rely
make it a
on-
point, seriously, to go and knock on doors, that's my job to do
But
that.
unless you're at every
So,
single
you're right.
house, you
I'm
have
not
to
at
think
every
of what's
single house.
best for the
But I'm
community.
at, I know, but I'm at my neighborhood, which is what, 300 homes, and I take it upon myself during elections and all that. That's our job, is to go and talk to them. And,
But still,
The largest
unless
majority,
you're at every
correct.
single house, you can't
Well,
base it off
correct,
of
I
5% of the population.
So I think also too, are you specifically asking them if they would like to see increased coverage, or are you asking them if they want
I don't have
increased
a-
taxes?
No, just, do they feel that it is, you know, that the coverage that they see with Wright County is sufficient? Do you see them in the neighborhoods? Do you want to see them more in the neighborhoods? Do you feel safe in your neighborhoods? Not, hey, you know what, if we increase it, it's gonna go up $100.
Because if you were to tell
So-
them that it could go up, that
Then they're gonna
increase-
say no.
But no, if you were to approach it, because we don't know for sure if this is directly gonna raise taxes. We don't
We
know.
don't know. Exactly.
So if you were to say we could potentially increase the coverage by 6 hours, for the cost of 2 hours, 4 hours for the cost of 2 hours.
Whatever, yeah.
However you want to look at it. With potentially no tax impact, would you want that? And I guarantee you everybody would say yes. They're not going to deny more coverage
For the same dollar.
for the
correct.
same.
So then, I mean, basically then,
Ramification.
right.
There's a lot of people that think they're paying too much already for what we get.
Right. So then, you know, they just basically ask, well, what do we pay now? $202,000.
Well, some of it I think is an education piece. I don't think they realize what they're supposed to be doing, what they are doing, that
And that's
they
why
can't sit in front of your house 24 hours a day. You know, I think, you know, they might say no, because I don't want my taxes to go, but they need to be educated at the same time on the complete situation, not just on bits and pieces. Otherwise, you can't make an informed decision.
Right, and I mean, and that's why I took it upon, you know, to go and do the classes and the ride-alongs to inform the residents that, as I said, you know, I mean, like I said, in the workshops, they said, well, it takes this amount of time. Does it really take half an hour to fill out a ticket when everything's accessible? Yeah, it does, you know? I mean, come to find out that it really does. So, but back to, I'm gonna have to go, doesn't matter. I'm gonna have to say no just because of the discussions I've had, so. But motion still passes 3-2. Any old business? No. New business? No new business. Upcoming meetings?
We have the July 18th open house for Garfield Avenue and Montrose Meadows improvements from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. at the community center. July 19th will be the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting at 7. That will also include a noticed, or to be noticed, special council meeting. And then July 24th is a special council meeting at the community center at 7 that's also related to the Garfield Avenue and Montrose Meadows improvements.
just an FYI, I'm not available for the 24th either.
You're always supposed to be available fourth Monday of every month.
Second and fourth.
So that meeting on the 24th was to take the bids for the road improvements. Can we also have a discussion then on the moving forward of the regional park and where we're at? Can we add that to the agenda too?
Sure.
Thank you.
Also, I'd like to add seal coating for 2017 also.
Which development?
The Clementa and portions of Forest Creek. And a handful of other ones.
All right, any acknowledgements?
The Army, for all of their work at Regional Park this past month. Again, all of those that are involved with the feed program, it's just a tremendous benefit to the city. Greatly appreciate all of their services.
I, again, reiterate what Jill said, the Army for all their work that they did. Phenomenal group to work with, super nice people. The fire department for letting them use their washer and dryer for the last month. What is that? Oh, with the Army. Okay. Jill would like to add Sean to the list with Sean and Justin working with the Army. Casey's for donating the 15 pizzas for the pizza day out at the Army, and then Jason for taking me on a tour of the Bug Spring community. Didn't realize just how much space we had done. How long it really took. It was a 3-hour process. How slow they really drive. Oh my God, yes. Yes. So, motion to adjourn.
Second.
Anybody else have anything? Sorry. You guys? No. Is there a second? I will second.
Yeah, I second. You motion and I second,
Oh,
right?
okay. Sure. All in favor?